Hey everyone, Dave here with another Blu-ray update video. In this one we're going to be taking a look at a couple of new box sets that have been released from Viavision's Imprint range. We will talk about this in a moment, but if you have watched any of my videos this past month, you will know that the postal system here in Melbourne is absolutely fried, so these are a little bit delayed. I do apologise about that, but we've got a lot to take a look at here, so let's get into it. Okay, so just a quick preface in case you haven't seen any of my other videos. We have been in major lockdown here in Melbourne. We've only just come out of it, and as a result of this, heaps of people have been just buying everything online, and the mail system is completely clogged. There are, I believe there are postal workers who are testing positive for the virus, all this kind of stuff, and they're shutting down little bits and pieces here and there, and it's just absolute chaos, and parcels are delayed 3, 4, 5 weeks. I've been waiting on something for 3 months that is just floating around in the system somewhere. This one here, the box set, the major box set we're going to be taking a look at, the Collaborations collection, that was delayed by about 3 weeks, and I'm still waiting for the other handful of Imprint titles that were released alongside these this month. I think there's 5 titles as well, individual ones, that have been floating around in the post for almost a month now. It's apparently just sitting in one of the depots waiting to be processed and sent out. This was an express post delivery. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to cover them in this video, but we will be covering this box set and these two that I went out and picked up as well. So let's get into it. First up, we're going to be taking a look at this one. This is the major box set. It is the Collaborations box set, the cinema of Zhang Yimou and Gong Li. Zhang Yimou, of course, incredible Chinese filmmaker, and Gong Li, just absolutely stellar Chinese actress. I had never seen any of Zhang Yimou's films before. Gong Li I had seen in a few English language films. Mulan, the recent Disney one, the live action version, she was in that. She was the villain in that. And she was also in Miami Vice, the one with Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell. I haven't seen that for a very, very long time, but and I don't really remember her being in it, but I had seen a couple of her English language films. As well as a Chinese Box, which is a film that Viavision, Imprint, brought out a couple of months ago with Jeremy Irons. I loved that movie, and after seeing that I was like, I can't wait to get my hands on this box set, and man, so excited that this one came through. Again, I did wait a little while to get this, and so it's delayed my coverage of it, and also I then had to get through 8 movies, which has delayed my coverage just a little bit further. In fact, I have not actually had the chance to watch all 8 of these at the time of this recording, unfortunately, but I have watched 6 of them, and I have adored them all so far. This is a really fantastic box set here from Viavision. I really love it when they do these nice, big, sturdy boxes like this, with the individual Amaray cases inside there. Yeah, a first time that Imprint's actually doing this. They've done a little booklet in there as well, which has got a few essays and writings on the films, and a few little pictures and posters and stuff in there as well. So this is an absolutely stunning little box set. Again, hard, sturdy, fantastic. Definitely worth the money. Now, I am a fan of foreign film, but I haven't watched a great deal of Chinese film before. I've seen a few, like a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and a few of those kind of martial artsy ones. But I never really this is my first real kind of deep dive into Chinese cinema, and I'm really glad I've got the chance to do this. This is one thing I really love about the Imprint range, is that it allows you to experience and discover films that you may never have in the past. So these movies, I'm not sure if I ever would have maybe seeked them out. A lot of them I have never heard of. So thanks to Imprint, I have been able to discover and explore these movies. And I will say, these are some of the most beautiful movies I've ever watched. Not just foreign films, but just full stop. I think these are some of the most gorgeous movies ever made. Zhang Yimou is an incredibly stunning visual filmmaker. All of his shots are just composed so beautifully, and he's an incredible dramatic storyteller as well. His stories are all just so full of emotion and love and life. A lot of them focus on some pretty heavy themes, but they're told through this really beautiful, intimate lens that you just can't help but get drawn into these movies. I'm not going to speak too much on each movie individually, because it would take a long time. I feel like I can just kind of throw almost a blanket statement across most of these movies, because I just get that same kind of feeling from all of them. And there's feelings of wonder and love and life and everything are just bundled into these movies, and I have loved them. The two that I haven't watched just yet are the story of Kiju. Haven't watched that one just yet. And also Coming Home, which is, I think, the most recent film in that box set, 2014. Now, Zhang, Yimou, and Gong have crafted films together. I believe their first one together was this one, Red Sorghum, and that's 1988. And the most recent one is Coming Home 2014. So this is an incredible collaborative effort of 8 films over, you know, the best part of 4 decades that they've been making films together. And I think it's just such an incredible body of work. And I want you guys to experience these. I mean, I've seen a lot of people out there saying I can't get too excited about this box set. It's quite expensive. These are the first foreign films that Viavision, or the Imprint label, has released. So I know it's a little bit outside of the wheelhouse of maybe a lot of people who are collecting these, but I'd have to say the highest recommendation for me, because this is just a stunning box set. And I think these are my favorite movies that have been released under the Imprint range so far. I love these. Okay, so I'll just very briefly give a few thoughts on a few of the movies. Red Sorghum, when a leprous winery owner in 1930s China dies a few days later after his arranged marriage, his young widow is forced to run the winery to make a living while contending with bandits, her drunken lover, and the invading Japanese army. This one is a very, very intimate... A lot of these movies don't have huge stories, and they're just... They focus on these very, very small kind of windows of time, and they're all quite... Some of them are quite long, like 2 hours and 15 minutes is probably the longest one in here. Some of them are a little bit shorter, but they're like slow boiling narrative that you can just get drawn straight into. And it's, I love epic storytelling where you're just like drawn into the television for like 2, 3, 4 hours and it just slowly boils. Some of these feel like that, but they're not incredibly long. They're real kind of meditative pieces, I felt. Red Sorghum does take a interesting turn towards the end, and it's incredibly intense. But it has such a beautiful story at its heart, and I really, really did enjoy that one. Zhu Dao, a woman married to the brutal and infertile owner of a dye mill in rural China, conceives a boy with her husband's nephew, but is forced to raise her son as her husband's heir without revealing his parentage in this circular tragedy. Loved this. This really kind of starts as this melodrama, this kind of romantic melodrama, but as it slowly unfolds, there is incredible suspense and almost elements of terror and horror in there as well. This child, as you can see there, is almost kind of the spawn of Satan, and he plans to reap revenge on a bunch of all the people that are involved in this story, and it kind of just spirals further and further and further out. It is described here as an erotic tale of forbidden passion. It certainly is. It's a very intense watch, but this one is just really, really great. It's a little bit different too. I feel like maybe all of these movies are a little bit different. And the interesting thing with that one is the horror elements that are brought into it. I think it's really interesting. Raise the Red Lantern. After her father's death, 19-year-old Song Lian is forced to marry the much older lord of a powerful family with 3 wives already, each living in a separate house within the great castle. There is fierce competition for his attention and the privileges that are gained. This one is amazing. This is one of my top 2 out of this whole set. I just loved this. This is a visual feast. And Gong Li delivers such a stellar performance in this movie, and it is really melodramatic. There's so much drama and tension, and the wives kind of vying for each other, and each one trying to outdo the other and trying to get the attention, and it's really, really good. It's almost like what you would imagine, like kind of like a trashy melodramatic television soap, but it's told through the lens of kind of like auteur cinema. And I think in some respects there is kind of some elements of satirical black comedy going on in there as well, and I love the way that Yimou just plays around with it. Such a terrific movie. Everyone in there delivers a terrific performance. That is probably one of my top 2 out of this whole box set. To Live. Fu Zhai and Xi Zhen endure tumultuous events in China as their personal fortunes move from wealthy land ownership to peasantry. Addicted to gambling, Fouché loses everything. In the years that follow, he is pressed into both the nationalist and communist armies, while Zhixen is forced into menial work. This is really great as well. This is probably the longest one in the box set, 2 hours and 12 minutes long. It's like a sprawling epic that tells this story about these two struggling people who are just trying to keep their relationship together through all these kind of trials and tribulations. And it spans, I think, maybe 30 or so years, maybe 30, 40 years. It almost spans their entire lifetime, their entire generation. And it's just such a great story. Again, I love this kind of epic, slow-boiling storytelling, and this one I think out of all of them does that probably the best. Again, this multi-generational story where it spans their entire lifetime, and again, not a lot really happens, it's just a lot of really dramatic moments, and you get this little glimpse into the life of these people and to live. I feel like really encapsulates that beautifully. I really loved this movie. This was a really, really good one as well. Shanghai Triad. Country boy Xu Shen is brought to 1930s Shanghai by his uncle, who wants the boy to become a member of the powerful gang ruled by manipulative Tang. When the boy's uncle and the gang's several other members die during a rival gang's unsuccessful attempt on Tang's life, the latter retreats to a remote small island thinking of revenge. I love this one as well. This is probably one of my top favorites. I don't know, it's actually really hard now that I'm sitting here and kind of, I guess, reminiscing over these. But I've really loved all of them, all of these ones that I've watched. I think that maybe this one has Gong Li's best performance. I really, really adored her performance in this. She is the madame of this gang leader, and this young boy ends up being kind of her servant. And when all hell breaks loose, she takes him away to this quiet retreat and tries to keep him safe. And again, it's just like a really short, really small story told over 2 hours almost, and slowly burning, but it's just such a beautiful dramatic performance, and a lot of that is from the performance of Gong Li. Just incredible, and I think this is my favorite performance of hers. She gets to do a few like song and dance moments where she performs for the mafioso and his, you know, the people that are coming to his nightclub and whatever, and she's just amazing. I have fallen so in love with her work, and in this, she just delivers this multi-layered, just really gorgeous performance. I loved this one so much. I mean, yeah, incredible. And the final one here is Curse of the Golden Flower. Set in a lavish and breathtaking, colourful world hidden from the eyes of mere mortals behind the walls of the Forbidden City, a tale of a royal family divided against itself builds to a mythic climax as lines are crossed, trust is betrayed, and family blood is spilled in the quest for redemption and revenge. Okay, I love this. This is probably my favourite one. This is definitely my favourite one of the lot, and the interesting thing is this is probably the most... it's probably the most commercial of the lot. I think it's the only one out of them all that I'd actually heard of. I believe this did get a wide theatrical release upon its release, alongside movies like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But I never watched it. I have owned it for a while. I've never watched it. I finally got a chance to check it out. And yeah, so good. Again, this is so much different to all these movies are so different from each other. This one plays with kind of mythical Chinese themes and themes of Chinese royalty. It's a kind of a real fantastical, mythical story. And it throws in these elements of wuxia, kind of martial arts, which is that really kind of mythical and mystical, just beautifully flowing, you know, you get them jumping in the air and just floating and really slow kicks and just blends martial arts with beautiful choreography. It blends a lot of that into this, and this is the only one of this lot here. I'm not too familiar with Zhang Yimou's film outside of these here, but this is the only one of this lot that he really plays around with mythical elements and that kind of action cinema that we know that when I picture Chinese cinema, I think of big, lavish productions, martial arts films with just thousands of extras, big battles, big armies, and this movie has all of that. I feel like it's the most commercial. I would recommend maybe watching all of these movies in the order that they were made, and that's certainly what I wanted to do, but I am so pressed for time sometimes that I just end up watching whatever I have time to watch on that given morning when I'm doing my watching. So if I have less time to watch something, I'll put a shorter movie on. If I have a little bit of extra time, I'll put a longer one on. So I kind of watch them all out of order. And I feel like that's not such a bad way to do it, but I feel like watching them in order would bring a very different viewing experience. But if you're kind of maybe a little bit worried, maybe if you are not as familiar with foreign film or Chinese film, I feel like this is a good primer. Maybe it's the best one to watch first because it is maybe a little bit more commercial, a little bit more, I guess, maybe a little bit more Hollywood than anything else, because it just feels, a lot of stuff in here, in this kind of Chinese cinema, has influenced action cinema in Hollywood. I feel like it's more familiar to audiences. So maybe it is a really good starting point. And as I said, this has been available individually for a while. So maybe even if you could go and pick that up, if you like it, pick up the rest of the box set as well. Adored this. I thought it was so great. I loved them all. The other two right here that I haven't watched, Coming Home and the story of Quizhu. I'll read them out. Coming Home, Lu and Feng are a devoted couple forced to separate when Lu is arrested and sent to a labor camp as a political prisoner during the Cultural Revolution. He finally returns home only to find that his beloved wife no longer recognizes him. Sounds really wonderful. Apparently it's absolutely terrific film, so I am looking forward to getting into that one. And right here, the story of Quizhu. Gong Li plays Quizhu, a tenacious farmer determined to right a wrong done to her husband. Defying all stereotypes of the passive Chinese woman, she remains unbowed by the frustrations of bureaucracy in her chaotic search for dignity. Again, this one sounds beautiful too. Actually, I watched the first 15 and 20 minutes of this, and then for some reason I had to rush off to do something else and haven't returned to it, unfortunately. But it got off to a good start. I liked what I saw, and I am looking forward to it. As I said, I really was hoping to watch all of these before I got around to doing this video, but time just simply escaped me. Look, I love this box set. These movies are all absolutely wonderful, absolutely stunning. Not a single one of them did I not like. And I think Zhang Yimou has become a favorite filmmaker of mine. Again, not just foreign filmmaker, but filmmaker in general. And Gong Li, I've fallen in love with her. Her performance style is just terrific. She is absolutely stunning, and she just delivers such a beautiful, heartfelt performance. And they just feel so intimate and so real, and she's an incredible performer. I really want to try and hunt down more of her films, and I'd love to hunt down more of Zhang Yimou's films as well. And yeah, I love this box set. Highly, highly recommend it to anyone. Even if you're kind of on the fence on this, please give it a go, because I think this is what the Imprint label is all about. Bringing to us movies that are maybe a little bit hidden, some hidden gems, and these are the ways that we get to discover them. Go for it. Really terrific set. Okay, so we've got these two box sets right here as well. I'm not going to talk about these at quite as much length as the other box set because quite simply I have not watched these movies yet. There were so many titles that Viavision released this month, including that massive collaborations box set, these two, and then I think there were 5 other titles as well that were released at the same time. Viavision weren't able to supply me with these two, which is totally fine. That is totally fine because of the other amount of stuff they've sent me. So I went and I purchased these from JB Hi-Fi at their recent sale, and I'm still, as I said, I'm still waiting on the other 5 to arrive. They're sitting in a warehouse somewhere. So first up, we'll take a look at this one right here. This is the big screen British comedy collection. This is, if you've been following my videos recently, you'll know that Viavision have been releasing quite a few of these British comedy classics DVD collections. They've released 4 so far, and essentially each one bundles up a bunch of movies that are based on classic British television series. Now, I have got Comedy Classics 1, 2, and 4 because Comedy Classics 3 bundled all of these movies up, and obviously I wanted the Blu-rays instead. So essentially what they used to do, what the BBC used to do, and you know, British television channels used to do, is that when they had like a really popular show, it was literally almost every one of their big popular sitcoms they would make a movie of. And it's not necessarily just like a movie where it's a continuation of the series, or like made during the lifetime of the series and it's like the Simpsons movie kind of thing. It's quite literally just like a theatrical version of the TV show. So in some cases it might be a show with a laugh track, no laugh track, it's just like a theatrical version of the show. In some cases they would adapt like actual episodes of the show or stitch a couple of episodes, narratives together to make a theatrical film. I'm not quite too sure why they did this. I think it's because they tried to get them out into foreign markets. They wanted to get these stories and characters out into foreign markets. This one right here, we've got the collection that includes Dad's Army, Steptoe and Son, Steptoe and Son Ride Again, and Are You Being Served? We'll take a look at Are You Being Served first. The staff of Grace Brothers Ladies and Gentlemen's Department head to the sun-kissed shores of the Costa Blanca for the holiday of a lifetime while the store is redecorated. So I believe the TV show was kind of set in this, set in a store, in a retail store, and all the crazy wacky goings on that happened there. So this movie might be an example of one where it actually was a continuation where they all go on a holiday. It's just weird, crazy stuff like that. We've got Dad's Army right here. Britain, 1939, Wilmington-on-Sea. The defence of this tranquil coastal town is in the hands of bank manager Captain Mainwaring when he assembles a motley platoon to become the Home Guard. So it's basically like a wacky, comedic war program, kind of a bit like MASH, but more British, very, very British. They did a more recent version of this with Bill Nye as well, Dad's Army, a couple of years ago. I have seen quite a bit of the original series, and it's actually really quite fun. So I'm looking forward to checking out the movie of that one. And the final two here are the Steptoe and Son movies. Steptoe and Son was basically a series about this 30-something-year-old guy and his elderly, miserly father. They're junk man. They go around, you know, junking and selling junk and kind of living a bit of a miserable life. And it's kind of about the antics that go on between them, this divide that's between them. The old guy's old and crotchety and just filthy old man and pisses off the son. The son wants to get out and just kind of be his own person and whatever. And it's just the antics that happen between the two of them. So Steptoe and Son, the movie, the first one, the bright lights of the West End beckon for Harold when he marries a stripper. But his ever resentful father tags along on their honeymoon, bringing an end to wedded bliss. Right, okay, so then we've got Steptoe and Son Ride Again. The Steptoe's loyal but bastard horse must be sent off to the knacker's yard. Instead of buying a new nag, a drunken Harold blows their savings on a greyhound in the belief it will win them a fortune. So basically, you can tell that a lot of these British shows were very kind of politically incorrect and wacky and zany and kind of over the top. And I feel like this might be a little bit of a acquired taste. These are kind of probably the weirdest movies that the Imprint line has included so far. I honestly never expected to see movies like this in this line. It's a little bit of a strange move, but it's interesting. These are classics. These movies have been restored here by Studio Canal, and Studio Canal does terrific restorations, and I'm sure these movies look really, really terrific. Again, I haven't had a chance to take a look at them, but these are important parts of British culture. So many of these great classic British comedies are, you know, some of the greatest shows or some of the most beloved shows that have come out of British culture. Now, as I said, a lot of these would be politically incorrect these days when it comes to social commentary and sexuality and all that kind of stuff. The views that are presented in these kinds of things are you know, not what you would see on television today. The important thing is when you're watching something like this, you have to view it through a lens of the time that it was created. Things like these would not be made today. In fact, when they remade Dad's Army as a film recently, it was very, very differently because obviously modern sensibilities and stuff had to change it a little bit. So these things are good. Some of them are dated and not incredibly hilarious or funny anymore. But again, if you're gonna check them out, you have to watch them through that lens of the 60s and the 70s in Britain, which was a very, very different time. And finally, this one right here is the Harry Palmer collection starring Michael Caine. These are great. While the first movie is really fantastic, it is one of Michael Caine's best movies ever, the Ipcress File. I never realized there were sequels, Funeral in Berlin and $1 Billion Brain. These films were made by one of the producers of the James Bond franchise when he left the partnership. The partnership was Harry Saltzman and Albert Broccoli. Albert Broccoli, of course, he ended up continuing on with the franchise. Harry Saltzman left and started his own production company, and he went and made a whole bunch of movies that were just basically like James Bond rip-offs. But this one, particularly the Ipcress File, which is the only one I've watched, is really terrific, and it is very James Bond in its style. It's basically like what you would have got if Michael Caine did a James Bond movie. So first we'll take a look at the Ipcress file. When Agent Harry Palmer is assigned the job of investigating worries over British security, his investigations spark off a trail of intrigue, double dealing, and murder. Very James Bondish. The second one, Funeral in Berlin. Harry Palmer is sent to Berlin where he is to extricate a Russian general who wants to defect, only to have matters complicated by an Israeli agent. Bit James Bondy. And finally, Billion Dollar Brain. Harry Palmer is blackmailed into working for MI5 again in his wildest, not MI6, MI5, and most dangerous assignment yet, as he pits his wits against an insane billionaire and his supercomputer. So there you go, they're the three Harry Palmer movies. I'm really looking forward to watching those actually, because I really loved the first one when I watched it a long time ago. It's a classic, it's one of Michael Caine's absolute best. I love these great classic Michael Caine movies of the 1960s. And this is a great example of, I think, movies that were James Bond rip-offs, but they kind of went on to have their own life and become beloved kind of films in their own right. I can't speak to the second two, I don't know how good they are, but that first one is great and it is a classic and definitely recommend it. So there you go, they're the three big box sets that Viavision's Imprint label put out this month. I know Viavision have been releasing a lot recently. A lot of people have reached out to me actually and said that it's getting very hard to keep up, the pure amount of stuff that they're releasing now. Because, you know, they might do 5 individuals and then flank those in almost the same month or within the same 28 days with 3 massive box sets. I think it is at a point where it, for most people, it is actually getting really hard to keep up with them, particularly on a monetary side, because these are not cheap releases. I mean, they come out to $30, $40 retail price. Big box sets like this are like $250. So I understand, again, a lot of people have reached out and they're like, I can't keep up with them anymore. I'm just buying individual ones. I think my suggestion, I mean, I'm not on any level of authority. My suggestion would be for Imprint to maybe kind of slow down on just the pure amount of stuff that's coming out. I mean, we are only 2 years into this and we've got basically 100 titles in this collection already. And I think to help people catch their breath and catch up, maybe things need to be staggered a little bit more, or there doesn't need to be so many titles and big box sets coming out at the same time, because people are finding it very hard to keep up with. And I do understand if you're in the same position there. And I know if I was buying all these, I'm in a very privileged position where I get a lot of these sent to me. Thank you very much, Viavision. I've been able to keep on top of them, but if I was in a position where I was paying for them all, I feel like I wouldn't be able to keep up with them all. So to understand that, but it's a terrific line. Collect what you can and what you will. They are great, and I would recommend all of these ones right here, again with a little bit of a stipulation on the big screen British comedy set, because it's kind of an outlier, I feel, from everything else that has been released. But at that is everything we're going to be covering in this video. Thanks so much for watching. I just realized I don't have the microphone on my camera, so the audio has probably been a little bit crap on this video. I do apologize about that, but thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Take it easy.
Hey everyone, if you haven't yet, smash that big old subscribe button up on your screen to keep up to date with all my content, and hit that like button down below. Also, don't forget to check me out on social media, and please consider supporting me over on Patreon for as little as $1 a month for exclusive videos, early access content, and to get your name up on the screen. Thanks again for watching.